She did have a very tough childhood. She was not particularly wanted as a baby. They were desperately looking for a boy. They'd had Sarah, then they had Jane. Then when Diana came along, there was disappointment because, you know, these earldoms actually require a boy to take it. They don't want girls coming in on it. And then finally Charles came.
When her brother was born, there was a terrific fuss, you know, a huge christening, all the royal family attending. So it just shows you the tradition in that family, the importance of the male.
It was when Diana was very young that her parents, Francis and Johnny, had this incredibly vicious divorce case.
There was a terrific blow when her mother left.
Francis, the mother, her own mother, Lady Fermoy, gave evidence against her own daughter in the divorce court to say, I think Johnny is a more suitable person to bring up the children.
It was quite unusual in those days for mothers to just run off and leave the family. And it made a great scandal in the locality. You know, if they went to the local tea rooms, everyone would say, oh, there's poor Lord Spencer and his poor children.
But Diana's past seemed completely unimportant as royal wedding fever began to seize the world. The royal marriage was set for the 29th of July, 1981. Amidst all the economic gloom of the early 80s, this new British industry managed to cheer everyone up. The whole world went crazy.
Already this week, I think there have been 25,000 letters, and it's averaged 15,000 letters for the last 4 weeks. And I think roughly since we got engaged, there's been about 100,000 letters.
I'm sure you've been able to look at some of it yourselves. Is there anything that's particularly touched you?
Well, for me, all the things that come from children who've obviously spent hours of work on paintings, pictures, cards, anything like that, and things they've baked at home. It's wonderful.
Baked?
Oh, yes.
Have you had cakes?
Yes. There's so many Smarties, you can hardly see what it is. And it's lovely. Really nice.
You had a very special collage from the children at the kindergarten.
Yes, I collected it last Friday when I went to the end-of-term party, which I ended up being battered and bruised, and there's so many children crawling on top of me.
What does it actually show on the collage?
Well, it's the firework display that's going to happen on Tuesday. The one I'm not going to.
Why is that?
Because I'm going to be tucked up in bed, I think, early night.
Not allowed to see me anyway the night before.
Well, no.
We might
Even
quarrel.
by the light of an exploding firework.
You're going to have time for the private life, for making a home.
You're the one with the domestic
Are you looking forward
responsibilities.
to making a home at Highgrove, for example?
Oh, yes, very much so. Looking forward to being a good wife.
Diana was really absolutely caught in a dream about marrying Charles. I mean, all her friends of that period say that she was really in the grip of this dream. It was almost as if the dream of marrying Prince Charles had replaced all the sort of unhappiness of her childhood. It was what she hung on to as her romantic escape. A prince was going to come along and take her away from all this, literally. And behind the walls of a castle, she was going to be protected and in a situation where she could never be let down or divorced. And it's, of course, tragic that it was the reverse, but that was her dream.
But with only 4 days to go to the wedding, there were ominous signs that this might not turn out to be quite the fairy tale everyone hoped for. From the very beginning of her public life, Lady Diana was under tremendous pressure.
You saw all the press around her, all the television crews from all around the world. Probably went through her mind about the big day next Wednesday. It's also her third public engagement in 2 days. And I just think she was surrounded, she felt claustrophobic, and she felt she had to move. And when she got to the car, I think she felt she'd made a wrong mistake, and then she got a bit emotional.
And I think all this adds up to a certain amount of strain each time. And it told eventually, hardly surprising. And so I would only hope that after we get married, it'll be a bit easier to come to a parliament without this kind of, intensity of interest.
400,000 tourists in London for the royal wedding. Many tours of London now take in new sights, like the nursery school where Lady Diana once taught, and Emmanuel's, headquarters of the team designing her wedding dress.
All the blinds drawn so that people can't take a photograph of what's happening inside.
With only days to go now, excitement reached fever pitch.
News of Lady Diana's visit spread quickly. Lady Sarah Spencer was there to give a sister's opinion of the wedding dress. It's been slightly altered. The crowd saw that, like most brides, Lady Diana has lost weight as the day approaches.
We're saving the last stitch right until the very end because we're very superstitious and I think it's unlucky to finish too early.
As the last 48 hours approached, rehearsals for the big day reached their climax. Security preparations for the huge crowd expected were particularly tight, following the firing of a blank pistol at the Queen the month before. The final touches were put in place. This was to be the first marriage of an Englishwoman to a Prince of Wales for 300 years.
Hit the music now. The battle for the biggest share of the audience will be as tough as it's ever been. The ABC network has brought in hundreds of extra staff, dozens of extra cameras, and a whole new control room. Some will be covering it a little more leisurely. The hundreds of foreign correspondents, for example, who've been getting themselves accredited at the government press centre today. From Africa to Australia, from the Far East to South America, they all want their own little piece of the biggest media event ever.
We'll be devoting as much time, if not more, to the wedding itself on the day of, as we did to the Columbia Space Shuttle. More time, in fact, I believe, in a single block than we did to the inauguration of the President of the United States and the return of the Iranian hostages.
This is the wedding of the whole world, and the whole world loves a wedding.
The wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer was watched by an estimated 850 million people in 75 different countries.
Diana Francis.
I, Diana Francis.
Take thee, Charles Philip Arthur George.
Take thee, Philip Charles Arthur George.
To my wedded husband.
To my wedded husband.
To have and to hold.
To have and to hold.
From this day forward.
From this day forward.
According to God's holy law.
According to God's holy law.
And thereto I give thee my troth.
And thereto I give thee my troth.
Here is the stuff of which fairy tales are made. The prince and princess on their wedding day.
Archbishop of Canterbury had described this wedding as the stuff of fairy tales. And so indeed it appeared. With a single kiss, the future of the British monarchy seemed secure.
When Charles and Diana came down the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral, I'm sure I wasn't the only monarchist who thought, well, phew, thank goodness, that's the future of the monarchy safe.
I think the royal marriage did change the mood of the country. Amongst monarchies, amongst monarchical brands, the British was way brand leader, and much the best known in the world for all sorts of obvious reasons. And then you have what looks like a young marriage, and you have a tolerably attractive young woman there. It's gonna go, it's gonna fly.